the easiest way to check a fuse and get the correct results every time. Brought to you by the ElectroCoach. What is a fuse anyway? Fuses are electrical safety devices that open circuits at a precise moment to prevent excessive current from causing damage to individual components or complete systems. They are everywhere and they come in all shapes and sizes. They are rated for different voltage and current levels. They are also designed to open at very specific instances of time. And that is called time delay. An open fuse is commonly referred to as a blown fuse. Hey, this isn't a lesson on fuse theory though, we're here to talk about identifying a problem. Think you have a blown fuse? I'll show you how to test a fuse with 100% accurate results. Remember, fuses don't blow for the fun of it, they blow for a reason. So finding a blown fuse indicates a problem with the circuit, device, or system it is protecting. And if you stay tuned until the end of the video, I'll show you a bonus method of checking a fuse even if you don't have a multimeter. Before I forget, please subscribe to our channel and show your support for more unique tips and serious training videos. Or I may be forced to sell my restaurant crayon collection on a small table in the front yard of my house, hoping for the wind to stay calm so the crayons don't roll away like they did last time. Now this example is obvious as we can clearly see the open element through the glass. Once you have determined that you have a blown fuse, your job is not over. It is actually just beginning. What does this fuse protect? Can't easily see the reason for the blown fuse? You can't see burned wires or mechanical damage? You can't smell smoke or burned electronic components? As a rule of thumb, a fuse can be changed once without finding the fault in the circuit. This is how pilots are trained if they encounter a tripped circuit breaker while flying an airplane. Reset it one time only, and then you move on to fault finding, or in their case, they move on to plan B, which is flying the airplane without the failed system. Okay, enough talk about fuses already, here it is, the proper way to test a fuse and get accurate test results every time. We will use a digital multimeter for this demonstration. Turn the meter on and select resistance test, indicated by the ohms symbol. The first step is to touch the test leads together and demonstrate the ohm meter and test leads are good. You should see 0 ohms, or a number that is near 0. If this test fails, you need to inspect your test leads and meter before continuing. Now place one test lead on each of the conductive caps on the ends of the fuse. Now watch for a value of 0 ohms, or a number close to 0, and this is okay. Think of it as checking a simple piece of wire. This reading indicates a good fuse. Readings of infinity, typically indicated by the OL on the screen, indicate an infinite amount of resistance. A blown fuse can also indicate a value in the thousands of ohms, which is not quite as high as the OL reading, but a clear sign the fuse has opened. By the way, OL means overload, not to be confused with overloading the meter, it's just that the value is too high for the screen to display the value. You need to pay close attention to a few details when testing a fuse. You need to isolate at least one of the end caps every time you take a resistance measurement. To test a fuse in your hand, you should only hold the fuse with one hand, the opposite end of the fuse must not contact you or your skin, only the test lead can do that. Contacting both sides of the fuse with your skin will provide you with a false reading since your body is conductive. When testing a fuse on a bench, it is important that the fuse is laying on non-conductive material like cardboard, paper, or wood. Laying the fuse on any conductive surface is another situation that will produce a false reading, so keep an eye on your work surface. One final tip, if your fuse is in a fuse holder, it can be tested using an ohm meter as long as at least one side of the fuse is lifted from the circuit and isolated. But if it's possible, just completely remove the fuse using a fuse puller tool. You don't want to test the fuse while it is still part of the circuit until you have advanced in your knowledge and experience. We will save that technique for another lesson. So, for now, that's it. Isolating the conductive ends of a fuse is the secret to always getting your fuses tested correctly. And now it's time for a bonus I promised: how to test a fuse without a multimeter. For this segment, we are going to use a common household battery tester, available at hardware stores, hobby shops, and even dollar stores. What? You don't have a battery tester? There are inexpensive models that can be purchased for about $5 if you look around. This hack is reserved for those who don't own a multimeter, or can't find it because they didn't put it back last time they used it. We are going to take a 9-volt battery and our budget-friendly battery tester and make our own fuse checker. These are all the items you need for this fuse checker to work. First, select the 9-volt setting on the battery tester and test the battery to be sure it is okay. The black negative lead is attached to the larger battery terminal, which looks like a crown, because negative is the king. Once we have verified our battery is good, it's time to test the fuse. Okay, here's the setup. I used a short wire with alligator clips for this demonstration, but it isn't required. The crown, or negative battery terminal, is connected to the negative battery checker lead. The positive battery terminal of the battery connects to one side of the fuse, and the positive lead on the battery checker connects to the other side of the fuse, completing the circuit. Fuses are bench tested at all times using this method. In other words, the fuse is removed completely from the circuit for safety's sake, since battery testers are not designed for use on live circuits of any kind. With this setup, we are essentially testing a known good battery through the fuse. Now here's an example of a blown fuse. We already tested our 9-volt battery and it is good. When we add the fuse to the circuit, we no longer see the 9 volts of battery voltage. This indicates a blown fuse. Just check your connections to the fuse and battery, and be sure you have completed the circuit. The non-movement of the battery checker needle indicates a blown fuse. This is quite a useful hack if you don't have a multimeter handy. Oh well, this is the conclusion of our fuse checking instruction. If you gain any knowledge from this tutorial, please subscribe to the ElectroCoach and show your support for our hacks, tips, and training. Now go celebrate and test some fuses.